Hi, this is Ed Begley Jr., and you're watching the Boys Podcast.
Hey, look, who's your designer here, Calvin Swine?
What did you say, Fiscus?
Don't get mad at me. Have you seen the back of your jacket?
You've got to be kidding me. Ehrlich, you're a pig. That's very original. They didn't even spell Ehrlich right. This is not funny. Whoever is doing this, it's not funny anymore. Enough's enough. I'm not an animal. I'm a man.
And if anybody here agrees with that, please oink.
Max Wolf is a pissant and the Saturn Theater's got to go.
Disappear.
Evaporate.
Personally, I like Max,
Nice guy.
Sweetheart.
but I've got a business to run.
Major industry.
An empire.
And Max Wolf stands in the way of progress.
Obstinate.
Pig-headed.
And that's costing us money.
Can't have that.
Gotta stop.
His time has passed.
Has been.
History.
Hi.
Shannon.
Intros, Shannon?
Great to meet you.
You too, Robert, if I'm not mistaken.
Sit down so we can... This is a Futterman house. I was conceived right upstairs in the same room where I sleep with your mother. The same room you were conceived in. One day, God willing, you'll conceive your own little Futterman in that same room.
So what do we do about it?
We sing.
What do we sing?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Boys Podcast. Today, I'm joined by a legendary actor. You may have seen him in things such as St. Elsewhere, Get Crazy, Pineapple Express, Future Man, and Young Sheldon. So welcome, Mr. Ed Begley Jr. Welcome.
Joseph, nice to talk to you.
Yeah, nice to talk to you too. Thank you. Okay, so what have you been up to? How are you doing?
Very good. I've been working a lot. I'm 72 years old, so to still be working at that age, I feel pretty fortunate. I got into Screen Actors Guild in 1967, so that's 54 years I've been working as of July, and looks like I've got quite a bit of work planned for the future. So I feel very lucky. You know, whatever line of work you're in, if you sell used cars or aluminum siding, you're still working after 50 years, you should probably feel lucky.
Yeah, I like that. Now, I think you're a very talented actor through all your roles you've done.
Well, thank you, buddy. That's very nice. I know I've got a lot of talented friends who haven't been so lucky, so I sure feel fortunate to still be doing it.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So, what made you want to become an actor, and who was your biggest inspiration for acting?
My dad was an actor, so he won a Tony Award for his stage work in a play called Inherit the Wind in the 50s in New York, and he was very good in that. He had done a lot of radio. He became a film actor and a television actor, and so I wanted to do what my father did. You know, it looked pretty exciting to me, and unfortunately, I didn't quite understand what was involved. It also looked pretty easy to me. I thought, well, I could do what my dad did. That looks easy. Get me a TV series, get me a movie. And I hadn't done any training, so I went out on some job interviews. Because I was his son, I got some opportunities, but I never got any jobs because I didn't know what I was doing. So I finally took some training, and if you want to be an actor, if you want to be a plumber or whatever, you have to train and apprentice and work on your craft. And I finally did that, and I finally started to work.
Wow. See, that's really cool. So it's like father, like son, you know?
Yeah. Very lucky to be born into that. So I think if my dad had been a plumber, I'd probably be fitting pipe now. But he was an actor. I wanted to do what he did.
Wow. That's cool. Okay. Now, what is your favorite role you portrayed? What would you say?
My favorite role, by very nature of his longevity, the longest I ever spent in any job was 6 years on a TV series called St. Elsewhere in the 80s. It was a medical show, and a very good one for its day, 1982 through 1988. Denzel Washington was in it. David Morse was in it. Bruce Paltrow produced it. Mark Tinker directed it. You know, Ed Flanders was in it. Bill Daniels, these wonderful actors. Christina Pickles was in it. These, Bonnie Bartlett, great actresses, great writers. Tom Fontana wrote it. So we had all these talented people from that day who still continue to work also to this day. Very, very talented people. So I auditioned for a part of a regular character on the show and didn't get it. I didn't get the job. They kind of threw me a bone and said, well, there's a part that'll be in 1 or 2 episodes. You want to do that? I went, sure, I'll do that. And that character was much better than the regular character I had auditioned for and didn't get. It just proved to be something they really like to write for. With me and Bill Daniels, this character played by William Daniels, a wonderful actor. So because of that, I worked a lot thereafter. And it was a great job. But then I got to work with my friend Jack Nicholson on a movie. He directed a movie that he gave me a part in. That was very exciting to work with Bob Hoskins and Michael Caine, John Lithgow in this miniseries was very exciting. To work with the great Meryl Streep in She-Devil was the most exciting time of my life as an actor, to work with someone that talented. And I just feel blessed to still be working with good people right to this day.
I like that. And see, my parents, like my mom especially, she really raised me on St. Elsewhere, so I loved your role in that.
Oh, thank you, Joseph. That's so nice of you.
Mm-hmm. And then I also like doing the Future Man, where you played Gabe Futterman. That was fun.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Seth Rogen is a dear friend of mine, and I love him. Known him since Pineapple Express, and he was very kind to give me that part, and then gave me a wonderful part in Future Man, and I just love working with him, and I hope to work with him again.
I like that. Okay, now if you could pick any role in any movie or TV show, is there a role you want to do that you haven't done yet? Cool.
I don't want to put out a wish list because I feel like I'm being greedy. These great parts keep coming. I've worked over the course of the first 5 seasons of Better Call Saul. I worked on that a lot. I'm working on Mr. Mayor right now. I worked on Young Sheldon. I'm still working on that. So great jobs keep coming. I don't, if it just continues like that, I'd be very happy. I don't want to wish for too much and put the kibosh on it. I'm very happy with what seems to be coming my way these days. I don't want to play King Lear or Hamlet or anything like that. I'm not fit for that, but I'm very happy to play the parts I do on shows like, Better Call Saul and Young Sheldon.
I like that. Okay, now over the years of your career, like through your career, do you still keep in touch with co-stars and directors you've worked with?
I do. I'm very lucky. I'm in touch with some very talented people from St. Elsewhere and also people from Better Call Saul. I've been in touch with that wonderful group of people, and Ted Danson and I are dear friends. So when I work on Mr. Mayor, that's delightful. I've gotten to be friends with Ian and everybody. Steve Millar, who produces Young Sheldon, and Annie Potts. I just saw her the other night, and I'm just very fortunate to work with these folks because they're all very talented people.
Yeah, you've worked with a whole bunch of. Wow, that's really cool. A whole bunch of talented people.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, now this might be tough. Now, your coolest person you've worked with? Would you say who's your coolest person?
The coolest person any of us knew in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and to this day is probably Jack Nicholson. He's just was and remains. But I was 15 years old or 16 when I first saw him in some Roger Corman motorcycle movie, and he was riding a motorcycle, and he just seemed incredibly cool. Everything about him. This is before he even did Easy Rider, kind of his breakthrough role. I went, that's the coolest guy I've ever seen. Maybe one day I'll meet him or, work with him. And I got to do both. And so it was kind of a great thing that happened in my 20s. I got to meet the great Jack Nicholson and still see him occasionally on his birthday or other times. And I just really idolize him. He's a great actor and an incredible human being.
I like that. Okay, now what director taught you the most, would you say?
What actor taught me the most? I think working with Meryl Streep was the most educational because she's so gifted. Yeah. She makes it look so easy. She's so relaxed and in the moment and so good, and her choices are so detailed. To see what she does to come up with a moment, to come up with some arc to her character, just to be close to that, to talent like that. I worked with Joaquin Phoenix too. I know him, and he's one of the most talented people I've ever known. And to see them work and what they've done, just you want to up your game too. You want to do something like that, in your time as an actor. And I could never do anything on the level that they're doing, but I can aspire to do something like that as good as I'm capable of doing. And it just inspires me to work with people like that are so good. I knew Marlon Brando very well too, and he and I were friends and got to get to know him was very exciting. And I just try to emulate those talented people and to be inspired by them.
I like that. That's a good thing. Wow. Okay, now if you didn't go into acting, what do you think your career would have been? Or what other interests and hobbies do you have besides acting?
I started as an actor in 1967, and I didn't understand or know much at the time. So I thought, wow, I finally got into Screen Actors Guild. Phone's going to ring off the hook, and I'm going to get a lot of jobs. Of course, the phone didn't ring off the hook at all. To get that second and third job was a lot of work. You have to really apply yourself and study more and train more and learn more. So when I discovered I wasn't working as much as I wanted to, I started to work as a cameraman. I had studied camera work as a young man. I'd been in a lot of sets and started to study that and see how they did a lot of the technical things with cameras. And I became an assistant cameraman and did that for a few years. But then, the acting kind of beckoned me and pulled me back in. And I started to work on a show called Room 222. And so I found I had less time for the camera work. And finally, by 71 or 72, I was working consistently as an actor, and I didn't have to do camera work anymore. I could just focus on the acting, and I've been focused on it ever since.
Wow. Do you have any other hobbies?
Yeah, I was just about to say something about that very good question you were just posing. I had a hobby of sorts, which was woodworking, and it became a source of income for a while too. There was an actors' strike in 1980, and other things work would slow down a bit in the late 70s and early 80s after I bought my first house, and I had a young family, and I had to work a lot just to pay the mortgage, my first house. And so I started doing carpentry work quite a bit in the late 70s and early 80s until I got St. Elsewhere. Then I didn't have to worry much after that. I worked at a certain level after St. Elsewhere that I didn't have to do carpentry anymore. But I would have been very happy to be a carpenter too. I made a table or two for my home. I made a chest of drawers I'm looking at right now, and I love to do carpentry. I still do a little puttering around the house when I have the time.
Wow, that's really cool. Wow. Okay, now favorite band and or artist and type of music, would you say?
I like so much music, many different kinds of music. I like classical and jazz, and I love popular music. I think Taylor Swift is just wonderful. She's a great songwriter, one of the great songwriters we have today. Great singer, great musician, lovely lady. I've known Don Henley since the early 70s. He and I are good friends, and I knew Glenn Frey as well. And, I know all of the Eagles and Timothy Schmidt. I'm just very friendly with all of them. Tom Waits is a dear friend of mine. Big fan of Tom Waits. I know Joni Mitchell a bit. I'm a big fan of hers. And I opened for different acts, wonderful singers. Don McLean is a great singer and songwriter. I opened for him for years. And Dave Mason, I opened for him. And Canned Heat and John Sebastian and Poco and Loggins and Messina. A lot of these 70s bands. When I did stand-up comedy for a while. So I would open for them at different concerts and colleges and clubs. And so I have a lot of friends who are musicians and great songwriters. I had the great pleasure of meeting all four of the Beatles and being friendly with several of them. So it doesn't get any better than that. I'll just stop there. I've met and know some of those great talented individuals. I feel blessed to know them and still have them, several of them in my life now.
Oh, I like that because, believe it or not, I also my parents raised me on the older music, 70s and 80s. That's what they raised me on.
It's really good music. It's really James Taylor is a great songwriter. I know him, a great performer. I know Crosby, Stills, and Nash very well. These are all great friends and great songwriters and great musicians. I was kind of steeped in that because I grew up in LA, so we'd go to the Troubadour regularly and see for, back then it was like $15 or $10 to sit between here and that wall behind me. You'd be sitting that close to Joni Mitchell, or to, Van Morrison or somebody would come into town and play at the Troubadour. Great comedians. People like Albert Brooks would, be on the bill there at the Troubadour. And so I got to be steeped in that club scene in LA and back east as well, and saw a lot of great and heard a lot of great music.
Wow, it's pretty cool. Okay, now favorite sports and favorite teams. Do you like sports?
I'm not very knowledgeable about sports. Basketball is a beautiful game, and I love going to a game and watching it, on the floor there. But sports I like myself. I'm a cyclist, and I like to ride my bike. I like the sport of cycling. I don't ski as much as I used to, but I used to love skiing. There's kind of individual sports, if you will, of like scuba diving. I'm a diver. I love that, to be there, under the ocean and to see all the beautiful marine life that's there in different parts of the country and the world. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. I was never good at any ball sports myself. That's probably why I'm not very knowledgeable about it. I didn't have good vision and, depth of field, to catch and throw and what have you. So I was never good at it and don't know much about it, but I like to watch. I'm not good at it, but I can still watch a game and appreciate it.
Oh, so do you like tennis because the computer that wore tennis shorts that you were in?
I tried tennis once or twice. I was never good at anything involving a sphere, catching or throwing it. I never was very good at, so I don't participate much, if at all.
Oh, good. Okay, now favorite food, would you say?
Well, I'm a vegan, so I like, fresh food from the garden. I love my corn during the summer. I grow corn, I grow tomatoes and lettuce and broccoli and green beans and, hot peppers and carrots and onions. I'm always growing something. I've got a nice series of compost bins, and I make my own plant food in the compost bins and grow my own food. And I have a 10,000 gallon rainwater buried underground, so I can use a lot of that water to irrigate with. And I'm very lucky. My environmental choices, if you will, over the years have been very good for me, in every way, not the least of which is financially. I have very low bills in the house because I make my own electricity. And as I said, I harvest a lot of my own rainwater, and I have a gray water system as well that irrigates the trees. And it's a very sustainable way to live if you live in a greenhouse like I do.
I like that. And it's very healthy too, like the vegetables too.
Yeah, very good for you. Yes.
I like that. Okay, now, now that, things are getting back to normal, do you have any projects there in the works that are coming up?
There's a movie that I worked on with a lot of very big stars and what have you that I cannot talk about because I signed an NDA, so I can't say anything about that. Also a TV show, a very successful TV show that's been on for several years. I'm in that again, and I'm not permitted to talk about that, but I can talk about Young Sheldon. Wonderful show. I'll have more episodes on that soon. I can talk about Mr. Mayor with Ted Danson. I'm on that again. And so I'm, again, just excited to work with these great people and beyond lucky to still be doing it.
I like that. Okay, now what's your advice for younger kids that want to go into acting? What's your advice?
If you want to be an actor, actors act. Get out there and get in a theater group and start doing plays, do theater. That's the key if you want to be an actor. I don't care if you live in Minneapolis or Chicago or LA or New York, wherever you live, in some little town in Nevada, get into some city big enough that has a theater group, get involved in the theater group, start doing work. And the more work that you do, people who want to be, a violinist, you play the violin, you practice every day and you play and you get into orchestra and ensemble or a string quartet and you play. That's what you do. If you're an actor, act. If you're a writer, start writing, take some writing classes. And they have great classes now, these master classes. You can work with people like Dave Mamet has a writing class you can teach. That he teaches that you can be part of online, these things called master classes with great writers. So that's the kind of thing in this age we live in with Skype and Zoom and all of that, these webinars, you can be part of that and learn incredible things from Shonda Rhimes or Dave Mamet or, incredible talent like that. So take some classes. There's great classes available, and you can learn a great deal.
I also like to stay humble. Like, remember you came from that. Like, I mean,
absolutely, very important. I had the good fortune of being Ed Begley's son, so I knew what came with the territory. That if you're going to be successful as an actor, people would occasionally stop you and maybe want an autograph or a picture or something. And so I kind of factored that in to my desire to be an actor. If I was successful, I knew that would happen. And so I wasn't put off by it or irritated by it, what have you. I know there's a very direct route between people buying movie tickets and between me getting a salary. People watching television, and because of the commercials that they put on television or subscription to a streaming service, I get a paycheck from that too. It's a very linear line that the dollars take to get to my bank account from public out there who are watching the movies and the TV shows. So I value the public, and as most wise people in sports and other fields do, people who buy the tickets to go see the basketball game is how they get their very fair salary in most cases. So, you got to always value the fans and hopefully make some time for them when you have the opportunity to run into them in public.
I like that, because that's what I like to say too. Like, these sport players, they should appreciate everything they get. Like, we buy their jerseys, we buy the tickets, like you said. They should.
Yeah, and that's no excuse for people to be rude to you if you're, let's say you're running to make a play and I can't right now. I'm so sorry. That could happen too. If I understand why somebody can't every second be on call to interact with people, to some other family situation where you can't, help somebody right away and take a picture in the middle of something serious going on with your family or, something like that where safety's involved. I totally understand that. But other than that, if you have free time, and I find myself with a fair amount of free time, I always make time for fans. It's rare when I'm running to catch a plane. I don't fly anymore, so I'm not ever running to catch a plane. But it's never the case where I'm running late or what have you. I don't have time for the fans. I always have time for the fans. I
like that. Yeah, when you mentioned Chicago, that's where I'm at. In Chicago.
Oh, great town.
Yeah. So yeah, now Mr. Begley Jr., is there anything you would like to promote and shout out that I can help you out with? Like, link down below in my video description.
Oh yes, I have a wonderful line of cleaning products, Begley's Earth Responsible products. Just go to Amazon and type in Begley Cleaning. Or Begley even, I think it'll come up. Go to Amazon and type in the name Begley, Begley. We have great cleaning products, and they're non-toxic, so they're good for your pets and your kids and what have you. Pets and kids are crawling on the floor and putting their hands or their paws in their mouth, and if you use toxic stuff in your floors or any surface, it's bad for you, and it's certainly bad for the smaller creatures and babies among us. So use non-toxic stuff around your house. It's good for you and everybody in the family, and it's not that expensive, and they all clean really well. My products do. So do other companies. Seventh Generation make wonderful products that clean very well. Not just my products. There's other good ones out there. So try one of them, and I think you'll be pleased with mine. They work good.
I like that. Also, if you want me to, I could link down your Twitter.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's my Twitter's Ed Beg. I think it's just Ed Begley, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember, but I think it's just at Ed Begley. Maybe it's at Ed Begley Jr. I think that's what it is. I should know it by now, but I don't. I can't remember it right now. I never type it in. It's just automatically there.
Actually, also, if you want me to, like the Begley's Best, like you said.
Yeah.
I'll link
Begley's Best, yeah. Type that in and you'll come to my cleaning products as well.
I got you. I'll link all that for you to help you out,
Thank you so much, buddy. It's so nice of you to do that.
Yeah. Okay, well, do you have any closing questions before I do my outro? Do you have any questions?
No, you've touched on some great stuff, and it's a pleasure to finally talk to you.
Yeah, finally. That's like an honor to meet Mr. Begley Jr.
Thank you, pal.
Yeah, well, I thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Mr. Begley Jr., for being an awesome and amazing guest. Yeah.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah. Have a great day, everybody, and stay awesome. And you stay awesome, Mr. Begley Jr.
Thank you. You too.